Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro, hope you're doing well. In this video I'm going to explain closures in JavaScript, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, closures. A closure is a function with preserved data. It gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. This has two benefits. States of variables in the outer scope are saved, they're retained, and variables in the outer scope are considered private. They cannot be accessed outside of the outer function. Let's pretend that we're playing a game. We'll have a global variable named points, and I will set this equal to 0, as well as a function stored within a variable named score. Let score equal an anonymous function, and what we'll do is return points plus equals 1. So each time that we call our score function, we will increment our points by 1. So to call score, we would type the name of this variable, it contains a function, then to invoke it or activate it, we just add a set of parentheses afterwards. Then to display it, we just need to use console.log. So console.log, then invoke the score function, and this will return points plus equals 1. Then if I ever need to increment my points, I just invoke the function stored within score. If I was to invoke the function stored within score 3 times, my points would be at 3 then. However, there's one problem with this. Since points is a global variable, somebody writing malicious code can actually change this. So let's say that somebody's cheating and they will give themselves 100 points. So points plus equals 100. Well, now the user has 103 points because they cheated, they wrote some malicious code. So one way in which we can prevent this is to place our points variable within the function so that it's a local variable and no longer a global variable. So this is effectively private. You can't access this variable from outside of this function. If I attempt to increment points by 100, well then we'll run into a reference error. Points is not defined. So you cannot access points when it's a local variable from outside of that function in which it's contained. But now we have another problem. The value stored within points is not being saved. Every time that we invoke the function stored within score, we're effectively resetting our points back to 0, then incrementing it. So our output is 1, 1, 1 before it was 1, 2, 3. So one way in which we can save the data stored within a function is to create a closure. It's a function with preserved data, and here's how we can create that using what we have currently. So we will create an inner function. We will return an anonymous function, and within this inner function, what do we want to do? So let's take our points and increment it. So points plus equals 1. Then we will return our points. And then at the end, we will invoke this function by adding a set of parentheses to the outer function. So we have now created a closure. So not only is the value saved within our points variable, but we cannot access our points variable from outside of our function. It's effectively considered private, and that adds a layer of security to our program. So a key thing to remember, things on the inside normally have access to things on the outside. Anything between this set of curly braces within our outer function is considered the lexical scope. Our inner function has access to this variable or anything else between this set of curly braces. That is considered the lexical scope. And we can save and preserve our points variable and not give anything outside of this function access to that variable. So that's kind of the point behind a closure. It's a function with preserved data. It gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. The benefits is that the state of variables in the outer scope are saved, and variables in the outer scope are also considered private. You cannot normally access them from outside of the function. So that's a primer on closures. If you would like a copy of this code, I will post this to the comments section down below. But yeah, those are closures in JavaScript.